Hi, Grammy Taps here. I'm so excited to share another video with you because I had a really neat experience this week in which I learned to play the Grinch. But before I tell you more about that, I want to ask you something. How did you do from last week? Remember when we talked about belonging? That's a feeling, right? Feelings, my goodness, they can really surprise us because sometimes they just come up and we don't know what's happening. And they could be good feelings or they could be sad feelings. And in this Grinch story, we have both. And so I want to share with you, and that's why you might be wondering why Grandma's wearing a Christmas vest in May. That's kind of odd, huh? Christmas is in December, not in May. But I'm wearing it just to kind of put me in the Christmas spirit to share this Grinch script with you. Now, if you remember, Grinch was this mean old person who was nasty, and he stole all of the toys and all of the Christmas from Whoville. And he thought they would be sad and mad and angry like him and miserable like him. But they weren't. He heard them singing, and that confused him. Now, I'm going to act out this script from Grinch, and we'll talk more about the feelings in just a moment. And it's a good idea for you to talk about feelings with your mommy and daddy and to help you to understand what's going on, because sometimes they can change pretty quickly. So just a moment and let me get kind of into my Grinch character, okay? And Pap's going to help me too, so he's going to be reading part of it. Now, for the final note in my symphony of downright nasty not niceness, the crescendo of my odious opus, the wailing and gnashing of teeth, the bellowing of bitterly bummed out. It will be like music to my ears.
Then the Grinch heard a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, and it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound was merry. But it was merry, very. Every who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, were singing, without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came.
Somehow or other, it came just the same.
And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling.
How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without bows. It came without packages and boxes and bows and bags.
And he puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
Maybe Christmas,
he thought,
doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas means a little bit more. Ah! Oh! Ah! 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 Max! Max! Help me! I'm feeling!
What happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day.
What's happening to me? I feel all toasty inside. And I'm leaking. Oh, Max, I love you. That's enough. Stop it. Back away. Go away. Get out of here. One step at a time. Well, that was my attempt at acting out the Grinch and how his feelings changed. Did you notice how at the beginning he was very proud and angry and thinking that everyone would be miserable like him? And they weren't. And then he was confused. He didn't know what was happening. And then as he thought about it, something else happened. His heart started changing. And all of a sudden, he felt something he'd never felt before. He felt love. And what a warm feeling that is. And he even reached out to his dog, Max. And then when Max came over and started licking his face like dogs do, and being playful, then all of a sudden, the Grinch turned again angry a little bit. He wasn't used to that feeling. And it was hard for him to change so quickly. And so he told Max to go away. Well, you know, sometimes we have feelings that sometimes we're kind of mean to other people. And we don't like that feeling, but it happens. And then all of a sudden, we feel really sorry and we want to be nice. And those can be really confusing. And so when those things happen, when you have feelings come up, it's important to recognize them and even to put a name on it, like proud or angry or sad or confused or happy or loving or joyful or excited. And when we can think about those feelings, and we can even replace one with another, like the Grinch did. He replaced one bad feeling with a good, happy, loving feeling. And when something else that I learned is that when we don't understand our feelings, we can watch a movie and find a script like this, and we can act it out so that we can begin to understand better our feelings. And so when I know you like to watch movies, because I've watched movies with you before, and I see the joy that you have in watching the characters change. And it's fun to watch them, to watch what happens to them sometimes when they're afraid, and then when they figure things out and they're not afraid anymore, and when they're happy. And so you can watch movies kind of in a different way now, and watch for a script that you can say, oh, hey, I felt like that before, and you can act it out and play with it, just like Grandma played with this script. And being playful can help us to understand what's going on inside of us. And so there are lots of different ways to be playful. And doing this with a script from a movie is just one way. Dancing is another way. Do you remember, Sylvia, when you and I danced to music And when I was visiting with you, we just played and danced, and it was just fun to move our body around. And sometimes we go outside and play at the park, and sometimes we just sit down at the table and play a game. Or the other thing, Sylvia, do you remember when we sat down at the table and we put a puzzle together too? Kind of like, we were putting all of those pieces together and it made a picture. That's what happens in a movie. You take all of these different pieces and you put them together. And then we can take it out and say, hey, I want to act that out. I want to pretend that I'm the Grinch. Or maybe I want to pretend that I'm Ariel. Or maybe I want to pretend that I'm Dory. Or any other character. And I can learn to understand my feelings. I can even learn to understand other people. Do you know that Grammy and Pap have those feelings sometimes too? And I know your mommy and daddy do too. So maybe sometime you could watch a movie with your mommy and daddy and say, hey, can we act that out? And you can pretend that you're that character. And when you come to visit Grammy and Pap, then we can do that same thing. I want you to know that you add value to my life. I love you, and I'm looking forward to coming and visiting you, and for you to come and visit us, so that we can play together and we can do lots of things. We can even talk about feelings and emotions so that we can understand them. Until next time, this is Grammy Taps, signing off. Bye-bye.